Hi, this is Calvin Cox. It's Sunday afternoon, 1:51 p.m. and like I said, it's Sunday, November 3, 2013. I pray to Almighty God that I can get this right, what I'm talking about, because it's critical. I've arrived at the age in my life when I'm tired of bullshit, okay? I get my ass out of bed and I go to work 5 days a week, and I constantly try to upgrade myself and do the right thing, and all I feel that I get really is ignored and extracted from. And I just cannot keep quiet about my feelings. Looking through history, the history of the United States of America, I've concluded several things that basically me and hundreds of millions of other United States citizens are abused every day by the people that govern them, the elected officials. And that these officials are not willing to yield even one little shred of their power to make everything more fair among the citizenry. They only want to take your money, whatever taxes they say. Okay, remember, I'm saying they say, not I say. They say I owe them. Okay? I have nothing to do with setting the amount of taxes. They take under force of imprisonment, and they use as they see fit only, okay, and then tell me I live in a democracy where what I say matters, but they only want to hear what I think once every 2 or 4 years when they hold an election to decide who the next leaders are going to be over me. And then after I'm elected, they basically tell me, shut up, little boy, go over in your corner, pay your taxes, or we're going to throw you in prison because you're a bad boy, and we don't want to hear from you as far as how you want your money spent that we took from you under threat of imprisonment. We might hold a little town hall meeting to hear what your little mind has to say, but other than that, we're going to do what we want. Okay. I do not feel that is a modern and useful society that moves forward through time for my benefit. I just don't see how anybody can conclude that thought process. I honestly do not have that much faith in other human beings. Okay, if you take money from me, I want to say how it's used, because what's typically happening is these elected leaders are taking this money. They always seem to be turning around and voting themselves a pay raise. When people who work for minimum wage, it's so pathetic, I don't even know how they live. They're always voting themselves some sort of small increase on their pension plan or on their health insurance plan or some other benefit that I pay for through my taxes, that everybody pays for through their taxes. If it's not that, they're turning around and building a new office building somewhere for themselves to move into, and then turn around and who knows what the hell to do with the old one, when the old one was really perfectly functional. Okay, and in most cases that's really the case. There's no need to spend everybody's money to build these brand new everythings. They call it progress. The leaders that are elected call it progress. I do not. I'm not that stupid. Okay, I'm forced to live every day in a super efficient manner, every day being accounted everything I do. Yet they do not have to live under such restraint, I don't believe. And they get a hell of a lot of money for it. I get a pittance, and I'm really tired of it, because I'm for freedom. I'm for my input mattering and having a say that really has an impact. I am for and believe in the United States of America's government, except for a little tiny bit. I want the wording changed just a little bit so that the common man has a say in how the money is spent. In other words, when Montgomery County Council or the governor of Maryland or the president of the United States wants to increase somebody's pay, they have to put a vote before the people, period. Do you want to allow this pay to increase? People say yes or no. Okay. That's not the case right now. You know, do you want to allow the county, the government, federal government, whatever, to build a new set of office buildings for this reason? You know, people like me would vote yes or no. That means I would actually have a say in how my money was being spent. And I think that would be so much more fair and so much more correct of the way things should be done versus how they're being done now. And because money is really important, how you spend it, how you manage it, how it's all going has to do with markets and how everything functions and interacts, and if all the wheels of everything keep turning. And we all know government has proven it cannot constrain itself. The average man who has to live like me, yes, could step in and say, look, you guys forget it. You cannot do what you've promised. So the point being, I'm not looking to change the whole government, not at all. I'm just looking to change one little bitty bit that gives the common man real say and real power and can force change within the government, so these people who run around spending everybody's money like it's going out of style, they can't do that anymore. You know, they have to act within a restrained manner. Now, to prove my viewpoint and how I feel, okay, and what it's based on, I'm going to use the inception of our country. I'm going to use the Declaration of Independence. I'm going to use how I see that I feel things have been extorted from the American public, and therefore all of that, when a government has been abusive, it has to yield a certain amount of its power back to the people to balance the power, okay? And more power, I feel, needs to be put in the hands of the average citizenry, or actually all the citizens that are of voting age, that includes absolutely everyone, to keep the power balanced. Because I feel the power is out of whack, beyond belief. And there needs to be incentive for somebody to get out of bed in the morning. Someone who really has a bit of power that's been invested in them, and the government says, we want to give you this power back, first of all, because it's the correct thing to do, and we see how it will benefit the country and will actually have a bit of a motivating effect on someone to drag their bed out of bed in the morning. Why would they want to get out of bed in the morning simply to go out and run around in a rat race another day to be abused at the end of the day, when they're essentially always told in little subtle ways, you have no power. We have it. Give it to us. Be quiet. Go away. And we'll call you next time election time comes around. I'm getting totally tired of that. If the average man cannot see my viewpoint, then I must be standing alone out in the field and no one will ever listen to me, which I know is a total lie, because I do know that most people actually feel this way simply by talking to them on the street. They're tired of this crap they have to put up with. And they want their little slice of pie just like everybody else. Let me check the time. This likely is going to turn into the longest talk I've ever given, but God willing, it'll hit a lot of hearts and really have some impact. And I do believe it needs to go somewhere to keep everything fair for everybody. The authors, now has to do with the supporting the idea I have of how the inception of the country, and how actually a huge unfairness occurred against the average citizenry. And that because of that, readjustment of power has to occur to be fair. Okay? The authors and signers of the Declaration of Independence essentially wrote and signed a document which they knew would start a war between Britain and the 13 colonies, and also knew many colonists would be forced into the fight and killed. Knowing all this, the founding fathers of the USA never put anything for a vote before the American people, the general populace. They did not. They just did it. Didn't ask anybody's permission. They didn't ask, do you want to get killed when Britain comes over here to punch the crap out of us because we, stood up to them? No, they didn't do that. They essentially caused a huge war and forced their viewpoint on everyone else, irregardless of how they felt. Then used the wording consent of the governed, come on, to justify their starting the American Revolution when they never asked for the consent of the governed to begin with. Which is what I just said. They didn't ask anybody. This smacks of the abuse upon the poor with the actions of the rich. All the signers of the Declaration, they had money. They had lands. They had power. They had unbelievably strong influence. And I think what they did was really not respectable. Okay. Now, I have an idea. My idea I feel is a bit superior because it puts more power in the hands of the common man. Liberty is about being liberated. You can't be liberated if you don't have power, okay? You don't have to have supreme power. You have to share power, okay? And shared power means someone like me would have a lot more say in how money was spent. Okay. All right. All levels of USA government are nothing more than an incorporated set of ideas placed on paper and intended to benefit the general populace. Now see, they say the intent is the benefit, but in many cases it only benefits others who have money and influence. Therefore the idea, okay, the idea is to benefit. All right. Therefore the idea is supreme and above all other writing. Therefore, if a better and more liberating idea comes forth to benefit the general populace, it naturally supersedes that which is previous. Okay? If I can come up with a better plan of democracy that functions better, it spreads out power better, okay, then it's better. It's better than something before it that was not as liberating. Okay? All right. Then the other thing I'm going to talk about is property of the state or property of the federal government. This is ridiculous. Okay? If you paid for it, you own it. Plain and simple. That's the way it really is. Alright? Somebody can't say, give me this, I own it. And you're going to do what I say. Not when you paid for it. You're the owner. They're just managers. What's so hard to understand about that? And they have been mismanaging. So they have to default there too. Because they have proved they're not capable of managing correctly. A corporate entity written on paper does not have the right to claim real property as its own because it did not work to purchase it and therefore does not and cannot own items purchased with other persons' tax monies collected under the threat of imprisonment. The government acts as an extortionist when it does not allow those who pay taxes to vote on how the collected tax money is spent. Okay. Extortion is illegal. Therefore, the government has acted in an illegal manner. Therefore, when you abuse, you have to pay. Okay. Therefore, the government must yield some power to those whom it has abused. Basically, all U.S. citizens. Okay. Now, I'm going to read through this real quick because I know I'm going to run it. Let me check time again. Okay. This paper is Readjustment of Power. It's simply saying the Founding Fathers got us into a fight. Never was the consent of government put forward. That was one abusive thing. The next thing is the government, the whole concept, the Constitution was written out. And they extract money, but don't let people say how it's spent. Okay? That's another massive unfair injustice. And all along, the state and federal government, whatever, has claimed it's their property when they never paid for it. That's an outright lie in the logic of reality. Okay? Nobody minds if they use stuff they purchase with our money. Just quit saying you own it, because you don't. Okay? And quit only spending money you take under threat of imprisonment without giving us a say in how it's spent. Because we're not that stupid. We're among the most educated people in the world. Okay, city, county, state, and federal government must yield 51%, this is my claim, my belief, of their power to all citizens of voting age to vote upon matters of money flow affecting the functioning of government at all levels of government of the United States of America. Laws are written largely to suit the rich. That's my feeling, because the rich can influence laws. There's tons of people who claim, oh, I am going to look out for you. I am going to institute these laws, and they're going to be fair, and it's just going to be wonderful. And the fact of the matter, no, it isn't, because when you go start looking at the fine print through all this shit, it's slanted towards somebody moving the money or influence or power away from the little guy and slanting money flows towards the rich. Okay. In a lot of cases, it's really that way. And if you go down into the minutia and evaluate it, how it works and how it flows and everything else, you realize a little guy like me has so little say, it's beyond pathetic. Okay? Suit the rich who can easily influence political leaders to vote a certain way to introduce, change, or maintain laws to suit their own financial well-being. Thus being said, the knowledge of and implications of readjustment of power shall firstly be held in the heart and minds of all the USA citizens, where the rich cannot of last resort change or corrupt such truth. Meaning you can't put this readjustment of power in any body of text. It first has to remain in the hearts and minds of all citizens, and at some point, if you can't get what you deserve, you're going to have to fight for it by physical means. And I hope that never happens to the country that's basically called a civil war. But if people disrespect you, the Declaration of Independence talks about disrespect and gives all the reasons, okay? And USA citizens are being disrespected left and right. The money in this country has been so mismanaged. I won't say what could happen, but I mean, everybody knows. So, based on the below given reasons, all levels of USA government must yield 51% of power, as this is the most reasonable progression to allow the citizenry to move forward into a freer and more democratic future, and to therefore of natural right change its own destiny and throw off the bonds of political and financial servitude, of which I absolutely feel I'm being forced into and have been for many years. USA taxpayers own all land, buildings, vehicles, and equipment. As the taxpayers' money purchased everything the state manages. The state only manages, does not own. I wish they would get that right. The government must pay to appease its guilt in falsely assuming power over the citizenry of this country, like with the starting of the American Revolution, and falsely claiming ownership of all goods and services purchased with tax monies collected under threat of imprisonment. Because it doesn't own it. It just manages it. Get it right, please. Government has grown abusive in the usage of collected taxes and has not allowed the citizenry to vote on the usage of collected taxes. Okay. Okay, here. Managers cannot act as owners when nothing is actually owned by a concept on a piece of paper which claims to own something it has never worked to pay for in the first place. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll this by the camera, and so there's some record of this. This is going to be kind of difficult to do, but I hope I'll be able to pull it off. We'll see, it might not work. I did not read this in order. I realized I couldn't, and I wasn't going to sit there all day and write this out on and on and on and on. You have to remember other people's input into this concept is absolutely vital. There are people who are very good at laying out things in a more detailed fashion, and this is not something that only one person should own. It is something that all members, all USA citizens have a right to know, to understand, and to act upon for their benefit. And no government has the right to tell them they can or cannot. View this, understand it, use it for their benefit, rewrite it so it's a bit more understandable and in perhaps a better order. The whole idea is simply to give a small slice more power to the American people by allowing them to vote on how all the money is spent. Because that will eliminate the stupid shit that's going on right now, and it'll force leaders to get with the program or get out of government. And that's exactly what we need. The United States citizens do not need people who cannot seem to work together running the country anymore. They are destroying the country. They are acting irresponsible and in an abusive fashion, and this needs to stop, period. You do not owe anyone respect who is not willing to work for the betterment of the country before working for their own political ideas and their own political party. The betterment of the country of the United States comes first before any political party ideology, and I do not believe that is happening right now, and most Americans do not believe that. And so, thank you for listening. God bless you. Be determined. and let's get the country back in line, because all USA citizens deserve to have a healthy, functioning, progressive, truly democratic atmosphere to live in and to raise your children for purposes of being happy and prosperous. Thanks.